blessing behind. So I want to start this morning. We're going to speak about Jacob, or continue Jacob. His blessing was stolen. So we're going to start in Genesis 27, verse 1 through 6 is where we'll go. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau, his elder son. And he said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here I am. And he said, Behold, now I am old, and I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapon, thy quiver, thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. So we see now that Isaac brings Esau into his room, and he's older now. He's gone blind at this point, and we see that Isaac and his family try to get God's blessing in the wrong way with this. We see that Isaac favored Esau over Jacob, but if you remember a little while back, we talked about that God told him that the younger will serve, the older will serve the younger. So even with Jacob's love, I will get the names right eventually. Isaac's love will have, to Esau did not have the right to this blessing. But Esau, not only did he sell his blessing for stew, if you read further on back into 26, and so you'll see that he was not the greatest. He was disobedient to his mother and father in many different ways. But Jacob tried to use the situation for their personal interest and benefits. This went against the good intentions of God's covenant. Trying to do God's work in the wrong way makes his purpose unclear and always hurts those individuals. He wanted to give Esau this blessing, and he said, Go to the field, and I'm weak at this point, and I need to eat. Bring me back some venison. We remember that Esau was a hunter and a man of the field. Well, Rebekah overheard this statement, and she feels like she needs to intervene and make sure God's blessing and God's promise continues to the way that she feels it needs to. You see, often we can get ourselves in trouble when we decide to pray our will on God instead of God's will on us, regardless of the promise. If it's not in God's timing, it's not the time. God ultimately makes that decision and will ultimately figure out where, or show where and how that blessing goes. But we often will try to get impatient, or not often, we get impatient as humans, and we think that we know better than God, and we end up hurting or pushing back or losing the blessing or losing the opportunity altogether. So if we'll move forward in this story, and we'll go to verse 6, chapter 27, verse 6, and it says, And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, and saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, and I may eat and bless thee before the Lord, before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goat, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, and that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. So we see now that this plan has been formed, and Rebekah is had this whole entire thought. She already knew what Isaac had wanted from Esau. So now she was going to use that against him and allow the blessing to be passed to the wrong person. So, if we move further down as we go into this, it says, where are we at? So verse 11, he says, and Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, behold, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. There again, another great way to be described. I'm a hairy man, and he's a smooth man. Esau, although he did not do right, he had a lot of interesting nicknames or interesting ways of describing him. So 12 says, my father pre-adventured will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me and not a blessing. So we see that he is questioning this already. He thinks that, man, this is a bad idea. Not very good at balancing.